When you think of US presidents, you probably imagine powerful leaders living in luxury, big houses, Secret Service protection, maybe even their own libraries named after them. But here's the twist. Not every president left the White House wealthy. In fact, one president struggled so much financially after his time in office that Congress had to step in and create a law just so he could make ends meet. Today, we are diving into the story of the poorest American president, Harry S. Truman. Harry Truman didn't come from money. Born in 1884 in rural Missouri, Truman grew up on a farm. His family wasn't destitute, but they certainly weren't wealthy. Young Harry wore thick glasses, loved reading history, and dreamed of becoming a soldier. He worked a bunch of jobs: timekeeper on a railroad, bank clerk, even a farmer for over a decade. And here's the thing, none of these made him rich. In fact, when his farm failed during the 1920s, Truman was left in debt. He once said, "My choices in life were either to be a piano player in a whorehouse or a politician. And to tell the truth, there's hardly any difference." So when he entered politics, it wasn't because of money or privilege, it was because he needed a job. Fast forward a couple of decades. After serving as a senator and vice president, Truman suddenly became president in 1945 when Franklin D. Roosevelt died. He took office at one of the most difficult moments in history, the end of World War II. He made the fateful decision to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, led the US through the early Cold War, and oversaw the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe. Now you'd think that being president, the most powerful person on earth, would set him up for life financially. But that wasn't the case. When Truman left office in 1953, his total savings were shockingly small. Remember, this was before presidents received the kind of pensions and perks they do today. All he had was his army pension, about $112 a month. Adjusted for today, that's only around $1,200, barely enough to cover rent in most US cities. Truman refused to cash in on his fame. Unlike modern politicians, he didn't give six-figure speeches or join corporate boards. Instead, he moved back to his modest home in Independence, Missouri, and lived simply with his wife, Bess. He even turned down offers from corporations that wanted to pay him just to use his name. Truman said, "You can't get rich in politics unless you're a crook." Strong words from a man who believed public service wasn't meant for personal profit. Here's where things got interesting. Truman's financial struggles were so well known that in 1958, Congress passed the Former Presidents Act. This gave ex-presidents a yearly pension and funds for office staff. It was basically created because lawmakers saw Truman living modestly, walking around town with almost no security, and they realized this doesn't look right for a former commander-in-chief. That law still exists today, and it's why modern presidents receive pensions worth over $200,000 per year, plus expenses. So, was Harry Truman the poorest president? If you count early life, other presidents like Abraham Lincoln or Andrew Johnson grew up in much harsher poverty. But if you look at financial security after the presidency, Truman definitely holds the title. His legacy isn't one of wealth, but of integrity. He proved that being president didn't mean cashing in. It meant serving the country, even if it left you broke. What do you think? Should modern presidents follow Truman's example and live more modestly? Or is the post-presidency hustle just part of the game now? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more untold stories of American history.